The Master's Finger, the Inner Gate.
Under the vast evening sky, a Zen teacher walked with his loyal companion, a joyful dog who danced across the path, eager to fetch the stick his master tossed. With each bound, the dog returned, tail wagging, eyes bright with anticipation. That night, the teacher was joined by a young pupil, a boy of sharp intellect but troubled heart, entangled in the contradictions of Buddhist teachings. His mind searched for clarity, yet the more he learned, the more elusive truth became. As the moon hung like a glowing lantern in the sky, the teacher paused and called his dog. With a gentle smile, he raised his hand and pointed. "Fetch me the moon," he said. The dog followed his master's gesture, his eyes locking onto the outstretched finger. He sat obediently, waiting, confused. The teacher turned to his student. "Where is he looking?" "At your finger," the boy replied. "Exactly." The teacher nodded, his voice carrying the weight of insight. "Do not be like my dog. Do not mistake the guidepost for the destination. Words, teachings, symbols, they are only fingers pointing toward truth. If you linger on them, you will never see what lies beyond. You must walk beyond the words to find understanding, just as the moon does not reside in the gesture that points to it." The boy stood in silent reflection, gazing at the silver moon above. For the first time, he no longer sought to grasp truth with words, but to witness it with his being.
Where heaven and hell begin.
The wind carried the scent of earth and steel as Nobushige, a seasoned samurai, approached the revered Zen master Hakuin. The warrior's mind burned with questions that had followed him through the battlefield and lingered in his thoughts like restless ghosts. "Master," Nobushige said, bowing with measured respect, "tell me, is there truly such a thing as paradise and hell?" Hakuin gazed at him for a long moment, his eyes steady as a mountain untouched by time. Then he spoke. "Who are you?" "I am a samurai," Nobushige answered, his tone unwavering, his pride evident in every syllable. The master narrowed his eyes, studying the warrior's stance, then scoffed. "You, a samurai? What ruler would place such a man in his service? Look at you, your face is worn like that of a beggar, your spirit no sharper than a rusted blade." Nobushige felt the sting of insult pierce his pride like an arrow. Rage surged through him, swift and uncontrollable like the heat of battle. His hand flew to his sword, fingers curling around the hilt, ready to strike down this impudent old man. Hakuin watched him with unshaken calm. As the blade was drawn, the master spoke, his voice unwavering. "Here open the gates of hell!" The words struck deeper than any weapon. Nobushige froze, his breath caught, his fury evaporated like mist before the morning sun. He looked at Hakuin, truly looked, realizing in that moment what had just transpired. His anger had been the flames of hell itself. He had been consumed, blinded. A wave of clarity washed over him. Slowly, he lowered his sword, returning it to its sheath. He bowed deeply, his mind humbled, his heart open. Hakuin nodded and, with serene certainty, said, "Here open the gates of paradise."
The river's lesson.
By the river's edge, where the water whispered secrets to the wind, a hermit sat in quiet meditation. His presence was still, like the rocks beneath his feet, immersed in the flow of existence. A restless young man approached, eyes filled with longing. "Master," he said, voice eager, "I wish to become your disciple." The hermit opened his eyes, watching the boy. "Why?" he asked, his voice gentle but firm. The young man hesitated, then spoke with conviction. "Because I want to find God." Without another word, the hermit sprang to his feet. His hands grasped the boy firmly, dragging him into the river with startling strength. Before the young man could protest, the master plunged his head beneath the rippling surface. The water closed around him like a vice. The boy struggled, his limbs flailing, his chest tightening as his breath abandoned him. The river muffled his cries, his mind screaming for air. And just when the world began to fade, the hermit pulled him up, releasing him onto the shore. The young man collapsed, coughing, gasping, his lungs desperate to reclaim the life that had been stolen for those brief, agonizing moments. The master waited, silent. When the boy's breathing steadied, he asked, "What did you desire most when you were beneath the water?" "Air!" the young man rasped, his voice raw from the battle for breath. The master nodded. "Then go home. Return to me only when you seek God with the same urgency, the same hunger, as though nothing else in the world matters." The boy sat trembling, the river flowing beside him, unchanged. Yet within him, something had shifted.
Is that so?
In a quiet village nestled between mountains and rice fields, Zen Master Hakuin lived a simple, contemplative life. To his neighbors, he was the embodiment of integrity, a man whose days flowed like still water, unshaken by praise or scorn. His presence brought a kind of tranquility that even the restless wind seemed to respect. Not far from his cottage, a young woman lived with her parents, who owned a humble food shop in the heart of town. She was admired for her beauty, but one day, without warning, her parents discovered she was pregnant. Shocked and furious, they demanded to know who the father was. But the girl, overwhelmed by fear and shame, refused to name anyone. Days passed in escalating tension. Pressured to the edge, she finally whispered a name, one that would send a wave of disbelief through the village: Hakuin. Outraged, the parents stormed to the master's dwelling. "You have dishonored our family," they shouted. "How could you deceive us all under the guise of purity?" Hakuin looked at them with calm eyes. He neither defended himself nor explained. All he said was, "Is that so?" Word spread quickly. The villagers, once full of admiration, turned away. His reputation crumbled like dry leaves. Children no longer waved when they passed him. But Hakuin didn't resist the change, nor did he protest. He accepted it all with a quiet stillness. When the child was born, the parents brought the infant to Hakuin. "You must take responsibility," they demanded. Hakuin gently received the baby in his arms, and with no complaint, no bitterness, he began to care for the child. He begged for milk from neighbors, stitched together cloths for diapers, and bathed the baby with the same love he gave to his practice. Each night, he would whisper softly to the little one, as if the stars themselves might be listening. A year passed. The weight of guilt began to gnaw at the young mother. Seeing the old master quietly raise a child that was not his, while she kept the truth locked away, became unbearable. One morning, with trembling hands, she confessed everything to her parents, that the real father was a fishmonger's son who had long since fled the village. Ashamed, the parents returned to Hakuin's cottage, their heads bowed low. They offered apology after apology, asking for his forgiveness, and begged to take the child back. Hakuin looked at them for a moment. Then, holding the child tenderly one last time, he handed it to them. "Is that so?" he said again, with the same gentle tone.
If you love, love openly.
In the early spring, when the cherry blossoms had just begun to fall, 20 monks and one nun practiced meditation together in quiet discipline under the guidance of a revered Zen master. Among them was Eshun, a young nun whose presence brought a rare stillness to the air. Her head was shaved like the others, and her robe as plain, but there was an unspoken grace in her being, a serenity that stirred the hearts of those around her. Though all had chosen the monastic path, the human heart remains full of longing. A few of the younger monks found themselves quietly enamored of Eshun. They never spoke of it. Their feelings remained folded within them like secret letters never meant to be sent. But one monk, unable to wrestle his emotions into silence, wrote her a love letter. His words were sincere, trembling with devotion, asking for a moment alone, just the two of them. Eshun never responded. The following day, after the morning meditation, the Zen master gave his usual Dharma talk, weaving truths about attachment and clarity of mind. His words echoed through the hall like wind through bamboo. When the talk concluded, Eshun stood. She turned toward the assembly, her eyes calm and steady. Then, with a voice as clear as water over stone, she said, If you truly love me so deeply, come forward now. Embrace me. Silence fell like a stone in a still pond. The monks sat frozen, breath caught between fear and awakening. No one moved. Eshun bowed, then quietly returned to her seat. In that moment, what had once been hidden was gently revealed. Not just a monk's yearning, but the nature of love itself. That love, in its purest form, has nothing to hide. That vulnerability is not weakness, but courage. And that clinging without openness is not love at all, but illusion.